Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm going to be looking at some really cool cards and Boomerang Energy. I actually forgot to talk about this in a video, I think yesterday or something. I was going to talk about it and I just completely forgot. This card is not that good, but it's interesting. It's a special energy, a colorless energy, and I really love the art as well. It's blurry, but it's really cool in my opinion. And what it does is it's, as I said, special colorless energy. And if this card is discarded by an effect of an attack used by the Pokemon this card is attached to, attach this card from your discard pile to that Pokemon after attacking. There's a card called Burning Darkness Energy that is very similar to this, not the same as this, but pretty similar. It was fire, but essentially the same. Now, fire type Pokemon are the most common to do this. The thing you're looking at to get value out of this is it needs to be a Pokemon with some survivability. If it just gets one shotted, there's literally no value in this. And it obviously needs to use colorless energy in its attack cost. I've heard I don't know. I really have not heard great suggestions. I heard there's a Garchomp EX, which is a card that could fit the bill. I don't know. I'm sure there are some use cases of this, and they're okay. I don't think this card's complete trash, but I also don't think it's upgrading a deck much either, because if you do have an attack, it probably takes multiple energies, and I don't know. It's pretty niche. I'm trying to think of an example, and I can't even, as a Garchomp EX, but that's not a great example, but it's a card. But now on to the Loyal 3, who are really cool, and some other ones. We have seven, or no, I guess eight cards here. We got Poltergeist, which says it doesn't do very much. No reason to really talk about it here. But we got Sinistcha, or Sinistcha, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And 70 HP on a stage 1 is, I mean, it's low, but whatever. HP doesn't matter too much on single prizes unless it's either really high or really low, and this is low, but the 40 on Poltergeist isn't amazing. Also, there is another Poltergeist, because I'm going to talk about this in a video tomorrow, but Crimson Haze, the full set, which is, I know I've been talking about a lot of different sets recently, but this will make up part of our, Stellar. No, sorry, yeah, Twilight Masquerade. There we go. Twilight Masquerade, which is the English set coming in May, these will be part of it. And there are a bunch of things, but there is a Sinistcha. Oh, and it has 30. Yeah, that's less. So the 40, I guess, is good here. But anyways, cursed droplets for one grass. Put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. It's certainly not terrible by any means, and both attacks here are one grass, although we'll talk about that in just a minute. I guess right now, the second attack, match all, how do I say this? Match all out? It's kind of hard to, what is this? I don't know. I don't know why it's like that. I don't think it'll be like that in English, but it could be. It could be some other weird pun as well. It does 70 damage for each energy you discard from your Pokemon and play up to 3 basic grass and energy cards, I guess. So if you're somehow doubling the energy, you don't double the damage, but you can discard up to 3 grass energy from your Pokemon in any way you like. Grass energy cards, I need to say that. This is okay. I mean, if you get the energy on it, it's good. It's essentially, well, I don't know. I mean, 210 for 3 grass is okay. 210 for 1 grass is really good. There isn't great grass acceleration right now, though. There is Gardenia's Vigor, and then there is a card that was just revealed yesterday in the set, Twilight Masquerade. And that is, where is it? Looks like it's here. No, where is, okay, there we go. It's pretty much lets you accelerate a grass energy from your hand to it and then draw a card. So I think you want to pair it with that teal mask ogre pawn. I don't remember the names of the ogre pawns, but yeah. Anyways, getting back to so this Sinistcha seems fine with the new grass ogre pawn, which seems fine, but nothing super broken here. I think it's good, but I don't think it's super good. Next up, we have Munkidori. Munkidori looks super sick here. I think, yeah, this one's really cool. So Munkidori, this attack, or its ability, Adrenaline Drain, is a basic psychic Pokemon. And once during a turn, if this Pokemon has any darkness energy attached to it, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Mind Bend here does Psychic Colorless does 60 for Psychic Colorless and Confusion. This attack is pretty bad, but obviously the idea is, you get a darkness energy here, then you are getting extra damage. It's moving, right? So this means if your Pokemon have damage, you can move them to your opponent's Pokemon. 3 damage is, I mean, it's more than 2, and there are lots of ways to put 2 damage counters on your own Pokemon, but it's still okay. I am looking at cards like Steelix from Paradox Rift, maybe? That might not be the right set. As well as Dodrio from 151, and there are a number of cards, or at least a few cards that will damage your own Pokemon, bench Pokemon, or themselves. Then you can use Munkidori here. The big issue is obviously you need to get the energy on, but it's only at one time, or at least once per Munkidori. I think this card is really interesting. You can't use Dark Patch because it's not a Darkness Pokemon. It's a little awkward with the typing, and I guess I'll say right now all 3 have an ability that you can use if you have Darkness Energy attached, which is really interesting. But they are also, none of them are Darkness Pokemon, and this is actually the only one that has a colorless energy in its attack cost, being it's the only one that can actually use it to attack, but also its attack's pretty terrible. Next we have Fezandipiti, which is a Pokemon, and it has a little more HP, and is more likely to be an attacker, and is weak to metal. The other one was weak to darkness, and then this one is weak to psychic. So anyway, Fezandipiti here, adrenaline pheromones. If this Pokemon has any darkness energy attached to it, and if any damage is done to the Pokemon, to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. That ability seemed like weird. Maybe I'm just bad at reading, but yeah. So it's immune to damage on a coin flip if it has a darkness energy attached. One thing I want to say, some of the recent reveals, the what is this, the Loyal 3, and then the Ogre Pawns, like they seem kind of weird. They almost seem like, I don't know if I'd say more creative, more like custom cards and their gameplay mechanics. The abilities or effects seem a little more complicated, not super complicated or anything like that, but more in depth, which I really like. I do feel like it could be a little complicated for newer players, but at the same time, it's not like the effect here isn't that complicated. That being said, is it good? I mean, obviously, immunity on a coin flip is potentially really good, and then the attack you energy feathers, 30 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon, which is, I mean, potentially it's a lot. Again, you can't Dark Patch on, so you can't attach to the Darkness energy that way, but you can manually attach the Darkness and then accelerate with Zadu, and then you do, if you have 3 energy, that's 90. The idea is that you're like surviving, though, a turn, hopefully. And if you're surviving, or like half the time you'll be surviving a turn, which is really nice, being instead of your opponent having to take like 6 prizes, right? And then they need to take like 11 or 12. And that's obviously really good for you. There are ways to hit through this. This is damage, not damage counters. This is also, so like something like Mimikyu, I guess. Mimikyu doesn't one-shot you, but Mimikyu would never be prevented. Same thing with Giratina V. Giratina V hits through effects of any effects, not just effects of attacks, effects of abilities, all those types of things. And so it will be hitting through this no matter what, and that is, Giratina V is a Giratina V Star is arguably I can't talk. Giratina V Star is arguably the best attack post-rotation in either Arceus. I personally don't think the Arceus build is super broken, but I think it's pretty good, and I think Lost Zone is really good. And that won't be good for this. Same thing with Sableye as well. That places damage counters. I don't know why that didn't come to my head, but that will take you out. And I don't know. I think this is interesting, pretty annoying, and can honestly buy you some time. I am looking at this in Gardevoir, but the big thing obviously is Gardevoir doesn't play Darkness Energy. But then you could stick on, I guess you could do Bravery Charm and accelerate. Then that gives you 50 more HP, so you'd be at 150. You can accelerate 7 energy, and then you need to attach to Darkness. So then you're hitting 240 and you're immune half the time. Maybe you don't want to do that because if they lost Vacuum, you will just die. But you can Gardevoir accelerate 5 energy, attach 1, so then you're hitting 180, which is still a pretty decent amount of damage. You don't have to go that route. I think the Zadu route is a little weak, but it is an option. But overall, I think Fezandipiti is pretty interesting. Not terrible. I think I've heard some people say it's terrible, but I think it's okay. Next up, we have Okidogi, the last of the 3, or Okidogi, I don't know. And then Adrenaline Power is your ability here, but I guess we'll talk about Oki Punch. That is a weird name, but it does 70 for fighting. So yeah, that's not a darkness. The ability is if this Pokemon has any darkness energy attached to it, it gets 100 more HP, and its attacks do 100 more damage to your opponent's active. Now, we need to talk about something very important. That is Luminous Energy. I could have talked about it with the other ones, but their attacks aren't that good. Um, Fezandipiti is okay, but you'll have a bunch of energy on, presumably. But yeah, so if you have a luminous energy, it will provide that darkness energy, right? Yeah, it's I don't think any said basic energy. Yeah, Sinestcha was the one talking about basics. So Sinestcha wouldn't work with luminous energy, but luminous energy would provide both the fighting energy on Okidogi and give that like darkness energy boost here. And then the stats when you have that darkness energy on are now you have 230 HP and do 170 damage. So those are both really good numbers. But now it's not exactly for two. It's kind of for two. It's kind of for three. You look at how do I power this up, and fighting doesn't have particularly good energy acceleration, but it does have one thing that I think a lot of people actually are forgetting about. Cryptomaniacs, no, what is it? Codebreakers, code breaking? That can't be right. Cryptomaniacs code breaking? I don't know. The card that lets you stretch 22 cards and put them on top of your deck. Then you can use the card Gutsy Pickaxe to accelerate energy to your Okidogi. Fighting energy specifically. So you accelerate one fighting, attach a luminous, and then you're hitting that 170, hopefully turn one with that 230 HP, and that's obviously really powerful. I think this is a really fun card. I think they're all okay. I think Okidogi is the best, but also it's like a build around. Munkidori is definitely techable as it does provide healing / damage buff, and I think it would be really a natural inclusion in a deck like Arceus, a deck where later on you have a lot of extra energy attachments because your attackers, assuming it's like an Arceus box deck as opposed to like Arceus Charizard, which is it's a completely different deck. And so if you're playing like Arceus and then you have all your attackers set up, then you have time to attach the Darkness Energy to Munkidori. And then Arceus V-Star is often designed to survive hits. It kind of wants to do that. And on top of that, it also doesn't necessarily hit enough damage. So Munkidori is really good there, potentially. And then Fezandipiti, again, kind of, I guess it's also a build around, but could be played in like Gardevoir or something. But I think it's probably the one I'm least excited for because it's immunity on a coin flip. I never really like that, but because it's annoying, but it can be good. Usually it's not super good. Usually because it can be annoying, Pokemon tries to nerf it. But we've seen like in themed Rapidash is like absurd. If you look at GLC, there's the Greninja stuff and there's Dragapult, which is super good. And so Fezandipiti could be okay, but there are things to hit through it. And then Okidogi is really cool. Next up, we have Carmine. If you go first, you may play this card during your first turn, discard your hand, draw 5. I mean, that doesn't seem very good. It's 2 less than research. I think if it was discard, draw 6, you could play this, but it's literally directly worse than Professor's research, assuming you're like not about to deck out. Which if you are, then this is still probably not good. And so it's directly worse than a card that isn't even like ever a 4 of in a deck. Right now, you could play it as a 4 of, and I wouldn't say that's horrible or anything, but I think it's pretty rare that you'd want more than 4 of that card, and Carmine is pretty specific. The only use or like idea here is that you can switch it off of Lumineon V. So if you have a deck that plays high caps of Lumineon V, potentially like Arceus V-Star, then you can grab this turn 1 going second. So going first. You could grab it going second as well. But in that deck is also losing Professor Burnett, which actually means you're probably going to play less Lumineon, but I don't know, you could. And this would be good because you need cards in the discard. Well, you need Arcaps in the discard. I'm not a Lugia player, so I don't know fully if this is like worth it because you're going to be losing resources, obviously. Drawing 5 is like good, but it's obviously less than drawing 7. I don't think this card's good enough, but I don't think it's complete trash either. Next up, we have Kieran. This one's really interesting, I think. We haven't seen cards like... I don't think we've seen too many cards that are like giving you 2 options. But choose one, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench. So it's a switch, or during this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more to your opponent's active Pokemon EX or Pokemon V. So the idea here, one, it can obviously be a switch, and this is here against control. I think it's a control counter. It's not just a control counter, but it means if you are against control, you can then play this, and or against trap-based control like Snorlax, Mawile, Spidops, or Ariados, like I mentioned. And then against those, you can just play this and then switch out, and that can be super useful. Obviously, it's not something you want to do in most matchups because, I mean, there are items that do that, but items can get milled much easier than supporters in the current format or the upcoming post-rotation format. This will be post-rotation. And then, yeah, so that's use, but obviously not the main use. So you have this 30 extra damage to your opponent's active EX or active V. I was just talking about Arceus V-Star. This could definitely be used there because Arceus doesn't always hit enough. I think you're looking at this. I don't know, though. It's kind of weird. It needs to be a deck that's bad against Snorlax, which is actually a lot of decks. But then it also needs to be a deck that doesn't desperately need other supporters, that also doesn't hit enough damage, and potentially a deck that is certainly not a three prizer. There aren't really any good three prizers, or many at the very least good three prizes post rotation, but there are certainly good two prizes, right? And so you need to be playing this. You want to play multiple copies of this so you can see it when you want it. I don't know. You could play it in Charizard. I don't hate that. Then you would be dropping that. This would be like you play probably two copies of this, and then drop a tool, and also drop like the if you ever run Meteor, which is it's pretty good against Snorlax, not guaranteed to win the game, but pretty good. And so you'd be dropping that for Kieran. I think this card's okay. I think it's pretty niche, but it seems okay. Lastly, we have Bug Catching Set. This card's kind of interesting. It says, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may choose up to 2 in any combination of grass Pokemon and basic grass energy you find there, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle the other cards back into your deck. And it's an item, so this is very similar to Netball, although it is worse. It's probably worse. Netball is like Fog Crystal. You just choose one. Oh, and this is up to 2, so if you hit more than 2, it doesn't even get that many. Yeah, this card doesn't seem very good. Obviously, Netball is not a thing, or not a thing in Standard, but I don't know. I don't think this card's particularly good. Grass is an interesting type moving forwards, as we do see Iron Leaves EX. We do see the Ogre Pond, and you could run it in the Ogre Pond deck. I actually don't hate it in Ogre Pond because you do need lots of energy in your hand, so getting 2 energies is always good pretty much. And then on top of that, obviously getting Ogre Pond itself is useful, although you're probably running maybe 3 copies, maybe 4, but probably, or of the Grass Ogre Pond, you're probably running like 3. Makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe, I'm not sure. You could be running 4, but yeah, and then like a regular grass deck, I mean, you're playing some basics, but a lot of evolutions like Torterra or Torterra EX, and so you have like maybe 8, maybe 10 evolutions and like 8 energy or something, which is like a decent chunk, but you're not getting like, you need to be pretty consistently getting multiple cards off of this and getting good value off of the multiple cards, so I don't think you get the value there, but I do think this is actually pretty good with the new Ogre Pond. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. I am really looking forward to Okidogi. It looks super fun. And Munkidori also looks super fun as a new like healing / damaging Pokemon. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm gonna cover Crimson Haze in tomorrow's video, which will be in actually less than 24 hours. This one's releasing as my second video today in my time zone. So yeah, that will be releasing tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.